and suddenly it's the 12 days of Christmas, but in March for Apple, because yesterday we got 2 new iPads, and today we're getting iMac and iMac Pro spec bumps, and something tells me with Apple's website refreshes this week, we haven't seen the end of it. There's at least going to be one more, and I'm going to be detailing all of this in today's video, starting now. So yeah, firstly, I think the biggest upgrades go to the iMac for today. This is long overdue. There have been 8th generation Intel CPUs available for a very long time, but for whatever reason, Apple was leaving the 2017 iMacs with the same hardware that they were launched with since WWDC 2017, and they hadn't changed, that is, until today. Now you can get quad and hexa-core CPUs with both the 4K and 5K iMacs, but I think the great thing that a lot of people aren't bringing up when they talk about all these new iMac upgrades is this was not a price raise. All of the iMac prices have stayed the same, which is a great thing because I think for the most part, the CPU hardware, the GPU you can get with iMacs now being more upgraded, as Tim Cook in the Apple newsroom is reporting, 2 times the power for the iMac lineup. It's gotten twice as fast, though I'm sure Geekbench scores might vary on whether or not they're twice as fast as before, but the entire lineup now has a series of 8th generation CPUs between i5s and i7s that allow you to equip 8-core and 6 cores inside your iMac. And if you go for the higher tier 27-inch 5K iMac, you actually can get those latest 9th generation Intel CPUs, which were notorious for running ever so hot, so we'll find out if they have heating problems in the 2019 iMacs now. But as cool as they are, and I'm sure they run really fast, and performance has been vastly improved, I don't really have a need for any of them, so don't expect a review from me. But overall, it's just finally a good thing to see iMacs getting faster and upgraded, and not at the expense of the end consumer. These did not get more expensive. iMacs are just as affordable as they were before, and don't worry, I'm sure you can still use all these same parts and build a PC for cheaper. But people don't buy Macs for the tech specs, okay? People buy Macs for the design and the Mac OS user experience and for reliability, because they don't want to build a PC themselves. That's why you buy an all-in-one, and that's why a lot of people are likely going to be ordering these 2019 iMacs. What Apple quietly refreshed and didn't really highlight too much in the newsroom or talk about is that the iMac Pro actually got a few upgrades as well. Nothing major. The Intel CPUs they launched with them back in 2017 are still the standards. That haven't changed, but you now have the option of 256 gigabytes of RAM with the iMac Pro, which was not there before. And by the way, if you wanted that extra RAM, that's going to cost you over an extra $5,000 to configure that with your iMac Pro. They also launched a new Radeon GPU with the iMac Pro as well that wasn't available before, which means that the overall maxed out price for the iMac Pro has increased as a whole. Before, if you maxed out an iMac Pro, it was basically close to $13,000 here in the US, and now, thanks to the new RAM options and GPU options, you can max out an iMac Pro to well over $15,000. You're basically halfway to a Tesla at that point, but still not as expensive as those solid gold Apple Watch editions, so sadly, I'm unable to say this is the most expensive thing on the Apple Store. But yeah, they weren't highlighting that very much, so I thought I would give it credit. And no, I will not be ordering a new iMac Pro for this reason. I'm still very excited for the modular Mac Pro. And to the people today who were saying I was hoping for an iMac redesign, remember, if Apple designed something new and they were proud of it and they wanted to show it off, there would be an event about that, and that has almost notoriously never been in the spring. If there is a new iMac design with Face ID or bezel-less trends, that's going to be either in October or WWDC, maybe September, but that would definitely by no means be in a website refresh. So that's why I guess I was confused when people were like, I was hoping for a design change. They did a design change. It wouldn't be just a site update. The reason Apple's not announcing all this stuff at the event is because clearly Apple wants the March event to be about the video streaming services, and they don't want to talk too much about hardware at this event. And now, knowing that there's going to be precisely about 3 website refreshes this week, I'm leaning towards the fact that I don't think there's going to be any hardware at the March event, and if there is, it's going to be fairly minimal. There's not going to be anything major there, but that's okay because we're getting all of our hardware announcements the week before, so they want to get that all out of the way. That way they can just talk about services at this event. So if you're upset about no design changes, realize that design changes don't happen over website refreshes. Now, this latest report about what's happening tomorrow comes from Mac Rumors, who says they've received an anonymous tip from someone who has accurately predicted that on Monday, the new iPad Air and iPad Mini would be refreshed, and they also predicted that today, this Tuesday, new iMacs would be refreshed with updated updated hardware. That same person who gave them this tip is now saying that tomorrow we're going to see a website refresh that launches a new iPod Touch in 2019. Yes, the product that has not been refreshed since 2015 will finally be seeing an update in the spring of 2019. Oh my god. I can't believe this is happening. It's like hell actually froze over now because Apple's not discontinuing the iPod. There's legitimate sources claiming that the iPod Touch is coming out. As several analysts have predicted in the past, like Quo, that there was a new iPod launching this year. I imagine in terms of upgrades, this is going to be the most minor upgrade you could have possibly imagined. For one, because it's a website refresh, so don't expect the new design. Those cool Apple iDesigner looking iPods. Don't imagine any of that happening because, like I said, they don't announce new designs with website refreshes. If they were proud of a new design or something, they would have announced it at an event. So what I would anticipate with the iPod Touch launch is easily a CPU upgrade. It's an A8 chip right now, which means they could easily bump it up to an A11. Dare I say A12? But, you know, I've been wrong in the past. I did not expect Apple to put the A12 chip in the iPad mini or the new iPad Air. That I thought was overkill and insanely affordable. The fact that you can spend $400 on an iOS device and get 64 gigs of storage and an A12 chip, that's really powerful. So maybe it's not too crazy to assume they're just gonna release the same iPod Touch that we have right now, just with an A12 chip instead. That way it supports iOS 13, and they can discontinue the old iPod Touch that definitely won't support iOS 13. But I don't know, I just feel like because it's an iPod, it doesn't need all that CPU power, so it's trying to be more affordable, and they should likely put something a little bit weaker in it, like an A10 chip or an A11 chip or something like that. But yeah, I can't believe the stars are finally aligning, but keep your eyes peeled tomorrow morning, because usually these website refreshes happen pretty early at around 6 a.m. Pacific time, sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later, it depends. But yeah, it's funny because I've never seen Apple do something like this before. In the past, we've had like one big website refresh on a Monday where they launch a bunch of new things, but this week it seems that Apple wants to kind of spread it out and kind of sprinkle hardware on us day by day before the March event takes place, which is just kind of interesting, and I hope it keeps going. I hope tomorrow is not the last website refresh. I hope we get something on Thursday, something on Friday. Of course, I'm with you. AirPods 2 needs to come out. AirPower needs to come out just so that the meme can die. Personally, what I'm praying and hoping for the most this week is a product red iPhone XS, because I think that would look insane, and you guys know how interested I am in that design trend. Red could have potentially leaked something this morning because they posted out this little picture of an iPhone XS and it had red edges, so a lot of people were like, is this confirming the red XS? But it doesn't have a cell band on the top, and the glass looks a little red, so it's clearly not an official one. So I don't know if that was a leak or if that was intentional or if that was Red sneak peeking that a red XS is coming out soon, but either way, I hope so, because then this week would just be absolutely packed with new hardware, all via website refreshes throughout the week. So this is just fascinating to me and gives me plenty of talk about for the tech channel, and reminds me that we got to get to my Galaxy S10 review because there's too many Apple products launching. There's also a Google event today, but no one cares. Anywho, let me know what you think of the iMac refreshes, the possibility of a new iPod coming out tomorrow, down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.